Hello. I did today create a new Flickr group dedicated entirely to the new 250 millimeter medium format telephoto Fujifilm prime lens. I've been out on 3 shooting excursions with it. I was out for like 6 hours today shooting with it. I can actually say I've shot the hell out of this lens. By the way, the good news right now is that all telephoto medium format lenses have always been expensive. Medium format of any type of focal length, whether it be zoom or prime, preferably prime, it's been expensive, but so this lens is normally $3,300. Right now it's $800 off, so it's right at $2,500 at the big retailers. A lot of various shooting out of the horse park. A lot of incredible attributes on this lens, and I've shot actually a lot of telephoto medium format, including back in the day, Hasselblad, Bronica. I had a pair of 6.7 Pentaxes, and I had a nice Halliburton aluminum briefcase full of my favorite prized 6.7 Pentax lenses. I'll never forget those. Now you think that I actually added saturation to this shot, but I didn't. 16 elements. What you actually can't tell from this lens is that the rear element is right about here. There's actually a couple important features, and actually something that actually, I want to say, pisses me off. Not about this lens, but there are a few known professionals that have actually had this lens and shot with it, and there are 6 videos from Fujifilm actually showing master photographers out using this lens, and of course the work they produce is amazing, but some of the really key interesting attributes which really would have raised my eyebrow in a good way, I never got from any source. Not from people that did a blog post that had pre-use of this lens, nor did I get it from any of the videos where, you know, they have the master shooting it, and, you know, of course they're going to praise it. Fujifilm is no different than Nikon or Canon in that regard, in that they give it to a master, they produce excellent photos with it. Key feature, now there's only 2, there's currently 7 medium format G series, medium format lenses for the GFX series of cameras now. Only 2 of those have optical image stabilization. And the other one is the 120 millimeter macro Fujifilm, my second most, I don't want to say not beloved, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of the 63 millimeter, nor am I a big fan of the 120 millimeter. This lens has optical image stabilization, but that combined with the fact that the rear element on this lens is like right about here, way up the back of the lens, so you actually have most of the weight, and this lens is not as heavy as it looks. I mean, it is heavy, but it is not as heavy as it looks. The fact that most of the weight of this lens is forward of its of the midpoint, the actual geometrical midpoint on this lens, so you actually have stabilization, the same thing I did in archery, where we'd actually put stabilizers way out in front of the bow to stabilize for shooting competitions. So that combined with the optical image stabilization, this lens, unlike any other medium format GFX lens, and I have all of them. There's currently 7 and there's 3 more coming, 2 telephotos and a 50 millimeter pancake. This lens has the best hand holdability of any of the Fujifilm lenses, any of them, including the 110 millimeter. While it does not have OIS, it's rather hefty and much of the weight is forward of the lens, but not like this. The forward weight of this lens, combined with the fact that it has OIS, medium format, even though I've got better hand-holding techniques than most people do, you can actually hold this lens steady with sharp shots at down at 1/60th of a second, which is no feat for a full frame, but anybody that knows about medium formats or the Fujifilm GFX or any other medium format camera knows that that's a terrible feat to accomplish, and that's really good news on this lens. That combined with the fact also too, I love this on the really expensive, enormous prime Nikkors, like 300 millimeter and 400 millimeter 2.8, is we actually have 4 AF on buttons here. They're also settable. You can actually have it set via the switch down here for, which is the only thing I want to use it for, but you can actually have it set for autofocus lock to lock autofocus, or you can have it set for preset, and your set button is right down here below. So it'll actually return and memorize the focus that you actually have set for a certain range. I have almost no use for that, but I love the 4 AF on buttons on the front of this lens. Also, too, is a two-piece lens hood with a metal insert for locking on the top bayonet of the lens. It's made in Japan. The construction is brilliant. Now the 110 millimeter portrait lens, which is not a replacement for. However, you can do some really fine portraiture with it. And by the way, I'll post the link below to this particular Flickr group, which contains only images from this lens and only images that I shot with this lens. This lens is absolutely incredible. I wanted to say that the 45 millimeter, which of course is not a portrait lens, it can be, but is actually my favorite Fujifilm medium format lens, and this is unquestionably my second favorite. I was actually not planning on getting this lens. The saturation is incredible. I love the bokeh. It does have some slight cat's eye bokeh and very slightly swirly bokeh, only very slightly. But it's not too creamy or puffy or cotton candy-ish level bokeh. I give this lens a right at a 10 out of 10, which seems like kind of high because I've only rated, of the 5,000 plus videos I've made, I've only rated, I think, 5 or 6 lenses that high, and that includes X series and all Nikkor lenses. I mean, that includes a lot of damn lenses. This lens is absolutely incredible. I knew even back that days of photography school, in the very early 90s, that every medium format needs a good telephoto. I thought about adapting one, and I'm really good with focus peaking, and thankfully Fujifilm has the best focus peaking of anybody, even far better than that Panasonic or Olympus, and certainly so Sony. This lens is incredible. Absolutely love it. Dreamy, dreamy. Again, actually, you can't see it here, but you can go to the Flickr page for this, and you can see you can literally count. She's got like 8 or 9 hairs behind her there. And this is a 250 millimeter lens, which, by the way, you think, well, it's an f4, it's not that fast. But no, this is an equivalent f2.8. and also an equivalent field of view of 197 millimeters, or we could say 200 millimeters. Essentially, it's a 200 millimeter f2.8, essentially. It harkens me back to my favorite, at least my top 5 favorite Nikkor telephoto prime for portraiture, which is the 180 millimeter 2.8 D series autofocus Nikkor, which is beyond incredible, which I have 6 copies of that lens. I actually thought long and hard before giving this lens a 10 out of 10. And I don't say that lightly. And there's only, like I said, 6 total lenses I've ever done that for, and 2 of them are G-series medium format Fujifilm lenses. The first one being the 45 millimeter 2.8, which is a 35 millimeter equivalent. My God, that lens is incredible. And this lens, like I said, right now it's on sale for like $2,500. I don't know how long that sale will last, but that's essentially $800 off. This is a cute little shot. You can actually see the bokeh back here. There's another bokeh shot. That's my beamer. That's my beamer, and you can see the bokeh. Oh, I love the bokeh on this lens. This lens is perfect. A lot of pros have been using this lens. Well, it hasn't been out that long, but several pros have been used for landscape, portraiture, so you can get that compression. I would love to do a portrait shot with a studio strobe and the moon behind somebody and step back about 40 paces and do a torso or a headshot, full body shot with this, with the moon behind there, and see the compression on this. It'd be astounding. By the way, also too, the monopod / tripod collar actually unscrews about 3/4 of a turn, and then without scratching the lens, it lifts off very easily. So if you want to take that off, it comes off really, really easy. You don't actually have to sit there and unscrew it. It's just 3/4 of a turn, and then you pull the knob out, and that unlatches it from its bracket right here. And it is very strongly weather sealed. However, I'm a strong disbeliever in that. I've seen the interior weather sealing on lenses and cameras. None of them are truly weather sealed. There's a difference between invasive weather and pervasive, short-term invasive and long-term pervasive. Of course, none of them are sealed against humidity. I always shriek against people talking about how good a camera or lens is weather sealed, because then that induces people to test the camera out in bad weather conditions, and then they wonder why later, 9 months later, the camera is corroded or the lens is corroded. Love the bokeh on this lens. It's sharp as hell. It's sharp as hell. The saturation's off the hook. The bokeh, I love it. It's just the right amount of puffy, but not cotton balls. Some people don't like that, and I kind of don't like that, where the background blur becomes not only puffy, but it becomes like, some sort of cotton candy, cotton ball fluffy, where it's just like it's too much. It's just too much, and this is definitely not too much. This is just right. There we go. The saturation. Ooh, this lens is freaking incredible. Oh yeah, here's a portrait shot I took. By the way, I know you can't see that in the video, but I can count every little hair back there behind, and I'm quite a few. Since this is a 200mm equivalent field of view, I'm stepped back quite a lot. And this is all hand holding, by the way. None of these shots were taken with monopod or tripod. All of these are handheld shots. Most of them are with the optical image stabilization engaged. Sharp as hell. What was this shot at? F7.1. Yeah, ISO 1000. The reason the ISO is 1000 is I wanted to stop down a bit. And there's also the conditions today went from extremely bright to very overcast, or these big clouds passing over the sun. It was off and on, extremely bright, a very overcast. It was vacillating back and forth. This lens is incredible. Is it expensive? Actually, no. You should actually price match a telephoto Leica medium format or a Hasselblad. Hasselblad doesn't exist anymore, by the way. The company is dead. They were bought up by the Chinese. Hasselblad is a name only. This lens is incredible. Front filter thread is 82mm. Love the 4 AF on buttons on the front of the camera front of lens at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. So you have 4 AF on buttons. You have a full and a limit switch, an OIS off and on. You have 3 choices for setting your front buttons. One is autofocus lock, 2 is a preset, which is settable right here for returning immediately to the same distance, and number 3 is AF on, or autofocus. Specifically, they mean AF on. This is like forward AF on buttons, which is what I love to use on my huge Nikkor primes. Anyway, this lens is astounding, and please click the Flickr group below, which I created, which contains images. Look at that. That's great lens. Look at that. Yes, I do. I love this lens a lot. I really do. This is how big it is with the lens hood. People think. So I said there are 2 factors that make the stabilization on this lens better than any other medium format GF lens. Because typically, even if you got really good hand-holding techniques, you're cruising for bruising on image shake issues at below 1/250th of a second. But I've done consistent, endless numbers of handhold test shots at 1/40th of a second and 1/60th of a second with this lens because of 2 things. Let me mention again. The fact that most of the weight is forward of the lens, which acts as a stabilizer, and combined with the fact that it has optical image stabilization. Those 2 things combined make this lens amazing. I do give it a 10 out of 10. Some people said that would piss them off if I rated this lens really high because they're afraid that their poor little wallet was going to squeal like a pig. That's a southern saying. It's like, oh man, my wallet's squealing. In other words, you've been, pinching it like a pig because, it's a southern thing. Like if you pinch a pig, it squeals, like pinching your wallet. So it's a southern thing. I think the Europeans are going to be like, is he talking about your wallet squealing like a pig? It's like, it's a southern United States saying. It's like, my wallet's squealing. When someone says their wallet is squealing in the South, what that means is that they just smoked it buying something expensive. This lens is incredible. Look at that! Ugh! Ugh! I get the shutters. Oh, sexy glass, I love you so much. So that's shooting for 6 hours today. I hope you like this video. You may not. Whatever makes you happy, whatever pets your pickle, whatever floats your boat. Yeah, if you like these videos, you can always drop a buck or two below, or tell me to jump off a cliff, or whatever makes you happy, or send some butterscotch cookies. Shortbread cookies. I say butterscotch. Shortbread cookies. And then someone's going to leave a comment like, "You're too fat. You don't need to be eating shortbread." And the answer to that is that you are correct. I shouldn't be eating shortbread cookies. I love this lens. I'm actually starting to get a little bit antsy because I love ranting and spitting blood. I want to test out it won't be from Fujifilm, but I want to test out a really crappy lens so I could sit here and foam at the mouth like a mad dog and tell everybody how horrible it is. I've had too many good lenses lately. And oddly enough, I've had two 10 out of 10 lenses, which is unheard of on my scale of 10 out of 10. This lens and the 45mm f2.8 GFX lens. Also, too, that Voigtlander 50mm f1.2. I'm going to get an adapter. I like an M-mount to Fuji GFX adapter, and I'm going to use that lens on the GFX. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out, Girl Scout. Fuji.